Welcome back, everybody. Rob from Revelation Rain, and today I am talking about how we met Marty. So in the previous video, I left off with when we found JT. He nailed his audition. We asked him to join, and he said yes. We already had shows booked, so we were thanking God over and over for sending us JT because we didn't have to go through a million guitarist auditions in order to find the right guy. First try, perfect guy, and we knew that we were ready to go into that show, except we didn't have a bass player yet. So JT nailed his audition. We rehearsed a little bit more. We go our separate ways. We decide that we're going to meet up again a week later. So I hop back onto Bandmix and I start looking for bass players in our Grand Rapids area. I came across Marty's profile on Bandmix, and I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit hesitant. And when you hear the reason why, you're going to laugh. Because he had a beard. Right? I didn't have a beard at the time. I just had a little soul patch thing back then. But it's funny that I was apprehensive about having a guy in the band that had a beard when eventually I would actually start growing my beard while still in the band. Anyway, so that was a little bit of a hindrance, so to speak. But I started looking at his profile more, and the guy had a ton of experience. And this was the clincher. He put on there, I play bass like Geddy Lee and Geezer Butler. And I'm like, man, that's Geddy Lee is of course one of the most phenomenal bass players of all time. Of all time. And then you got somebody like Geezer Butler who defined that heavy metal sound that Black Sabbath brought. And I remember thinking, this is the guy. Beard or not, this is the guy. I just have a feeling. So I called him, and we're talking on the phone, and I'm Rob. I got a band called Revelation Rain. We got the drummer, we got myself, we got the lead guitarist. We got shows booked, so we're looking to get a bass player ASAP. Would you like to come and audition? He said, yeah, I'll do that. He said, how many other guys are you auditioning? I said, none. He goes, what? I said, no, we don't need to audition anyone else. I think you're going to be the guy. He goes, well, how did you come to that conclusion? I said, because you put on your profile that you play like Geddy Lee and Geezer Butler. I think you'll do. So he was mystified by that, but it was just a feeling. I just had a feeling like this is the guy. Even though I had apprehension about the beard, I'm like, this is the guy. Something just told me that. So I gave him 3 songs to learn, the originals, and told him we'll meet up in a few days and see how it sounds. So, and here's the thing. I didn't tell Grant. I told Grant that I'd spoken to this guy named Marty and that he's going to come for an audition, but I didn't tell him what he looked like. I didn't tell him about the beard and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I'm going to let Grant find out for himself. So watch some of our interviews or read the book, and you'll get the funny anecdote about when Marty rolled up and Grant saw him for the first time. So anyway, we get to our rehearsal, and for some reason, I don't think JT was there. I think he had to miss for that, which was okay. That was fine, because I kind of wanted it to just be the 3 of us anyhow. That way we could focus in on what Marty was doing, since he was the one auditioning. So it was just me, Grant, and Marty, I believe. I could be wrong. Maybe JT was there. I don't know. Anyway, he played phenomenally. Now look, we would later find out just how phenomenal Marty was on bass, on banjo, on guitar, with helping with drums. Grant and Marty locked in almost immediately. And Marty, and Grant will tell you this, Marty made Grant a better player. They locked in so much. Marty would work with Grant and help with arrangements, drum arrangements, and whatever else. Not that Grant needed the help, but it was appreciated, I'm sure. It's just that they fed off from each other, and they would make sure that their parts were interlocking, that they wove seamlessly between the 2 of them, because that's your rhythm section. The whole band rests upon the rhythm section. Drums and bass. Drums and bass. All right? Everything else is just frosting on the cake. All right? So anyway, backing back up, Marty played the songs expertly, and then said, well, what about this other song you guys have? And then led us through 3 more of our original songs. He had done the exact same thing that JT had, just an overachiever type thing. And it was just, we were looking at each other like, this is the guy. Now, Marty was very, very reluctant to do even backing vocals. He ruled out lead vocals almost right away. That was almost a clincher for us. I shouldn't say a clincher. That means that we locked him in. That was almost a deterrent for us because, yeah, we're going for that four-wheel drive type thing. All four guys are going to sing. But I had a feeling, and I think Grant did too, that, you know what, eventually he'll come out of his shell and he'll probably, we could probably eventually talk him into singing a lead at some point. He did agree, like, okay, I can at least do some backing vocals. He goes, but I don't know how good they'll be. All right, we can work on that. So at least we had that. But what really threw him is when we started talking about the image. And he was kind of, I could see him almost like starting to backpedal a little bit, like, what H did I just get myself into? And I thought for sure, when we were about to ask him the question, I thought for sure he's going to say no. For two reasons. One, this image thing. I think it's outside of his wheelhouse. And two, we noticed immediately how good he could play bass. And I thought our songs that we have are probably way too simplistic for what he wants to do. Hence, when he said, I play like Geddy Lee, he wasn't joking. I thought he's probably wants to be in a more progressive rock type band, you know, playing really intricate bass lines and all that kind of stuff. He's not going to want to do the stuff we're doing. But it came to that point where we asked him, so what do you think? And he said, yeah, I think I'd like to give it a try. And I was floored because I thought for sure he was going to leave. And then, and I think Grant and I talked about it after he left, like, is he really going to show up next week? Because maybe he just said yes so we'd leave him alone and he could get out of here safely. But he did. He came back. In fact, I think that was the first time all four of us played together was the following week. We had our solidified lineup. And here's the kicker, is that Marty would eventually start doing backing vocals. Started bringing songs to the band. Even on the first record, he brought a tune that became Night Falls Fast. But by the second album, Marty had, I'm trying to remember, he brought Jericho Must Fall, Omega Man, Samson, and there may even be another one. But he had really stepped up in the writing department. But also, I remember when JT brought Splitting Hairs, Splitting Atoms to the band. Actually, he brought the music and then asked me to put lyrics to them. And that's when it became Splitting Hairs, Splitting Atoms. And I've told this story before, I'll do it again. I didn't want to sing lead on it because I didn't think my voice fit that song. But I knew I'd have to sing lead on it for a while just to give everybody like a guide vocal so they know the phrasing, how the words fit to the music. All right, so I was okay with doing that for a couple of rehearsals. And then I remember saying, all right, now who's going to sing this? Because I'm just doing it for now so you guys can kind of get the phrasing and see how the lyrics fit the music, etc. And I thought JT would do it. I thought JT should do it because I thought his voice would be perfect for it. But he didn't want to, I think because he wanted to really focus on all the intricate guitar fills and soloing and didn't want to have to be burdened with doing both on that particular song, I think. So he declined. So then my next idea was, well, what if all four of us sing it? We each take a verse or something. So that was kind of thrown around for a minute, but then again, JT was like, nah, I got to step out. I really want to focus on the guitar aspect. And Grant, I think, also said, like, I'm going to have to back out on this one too, for whatever reason. And so then it comes down to Marty and I. So I was like, all right, Marty, what if you and I do back and forth on the vocals? Between the two of us, we'll try it. And he was like, okay, we'll try that. Well, we got him to that point, and then pretty soon I was like, Marty, you're doing great on this. You don't need me on here. I think you should do the whole song by yourself. He was hesitant, but he ended up doing it. And once he got into it, boy, you could just see his eyes light up every time we played that song. He loved singing lead. And that was great. It was awesome. It was great to see how Marty evolved as the band evolved. And as far as the image goes, like I said, he was a little bit reserved at first, but once he really got into it, watched the shows, and as they progressed, he really had a cool outfit that he came out with, and he started moving around on the stage more. He became more of a performer, not just a guy standing there playing his bass. it was so awesome to have that band. 4 guys putting it all out there, being true performers, being lead vocalists, backing vocals. We had everything in that band. And Marty, like I said, was a great songwriter. So we had 4 guys writing, singing, playing instruments, just furthering the band, promoting all the time, coming up with merch ideas. I mean, it was just great. It was the best 2.5 years I ever spent in a band. The best band I've ever been in, by far. So that's how we came across Marty. That's everything that Marty brought to the band. It was phenomenal. Now I'm going to do one more of these because eventually, for personal reasons, JT had to leave the band and actually had to move to Oklahoma. So he could no longer be in Revelation Rain, but he gave us his blessings to find a new lead guitarist and move forward. And so in the next video, I'm going to talk about the new lead guitarist we ended up with, and his name is Tyler. All right, guys, take care, and God bless.